guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about, will earning a medical coding credential truly prepare me for the real world of medical coding? And what can I do to prepare as a brand new medical coder? If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay, there's a couple of schools of thought when it comes to people who are just now getting their certification. Some people go through really good programs and get taught that critical thinking, and they really know, and they're just sort of tested all the time throughout their schooling, and they're really put through a rigorous program that is helping to prepare them for the real world of medical coding. And they feel confident. You know, they still feel a little bit uneasy, but for the most part, they feel confident. Then you have the other school of thought where these people went through a really fast medical coding program, and a lot of times I get emails from folks saying, Blue, I really feel like I was only taught to pass the certification exam, but I have no idea what I'm doing. What can I do? And so, all right, let's get into this. I will start off by saying this. When you are a brand new medical coder and you just get your certification, doesn't matter if you went through a tough school or a really fast school that just taught you how to pass the certification exam, you're gonna feel unsure of yourself because you've never done this before. And a lot of times there's that sort of hesitation to just, you know, dive into the deep end of the pool. And so you're thinking, maybe I should just start in a really easy clinic. I always tell people, don't start in a really easy clinic, because it's gonna give you a false sense of confidence. And if you have a false sense of confidence about a year in, and then you get thrown into another clinic and you have no idea where to begin because you really haven't challenged yourself enough, you can really start to question, did you get into the right field or not? And you just sort of like fall back into that old habit of maybe something that's a little bit easier. The thing about being a medical coder is, yes, in the beginning, it is tough. It doesn't matter if you went through a good school or a fast school. It is going to be tough because there are things that are going to be different for different facilities and for different doctors' offices, even for different regions. There are things that are different. But for the most part, the fundamental basics of coding are the same. This is something that you can take comfort in. Because if you can pass a certification exam, now let's talk about this for a second. Just let's put a pin in this idea first. What is a certification exam? A certification exam is going to test you on your competency and whether or not you know enough to pass a certification exam. A certification exam is just made up of questions designed to gauge your knowledge. And if you have a certain amount of knowledge base, then you pass. That is essentially what a certification is. It's just a test that is trying to see where you are. And if you can answer these questions properly, well, of course, then you pass. The deal with becoming a medical coder is it's a lifelong learning process. So while you may have passed your certification exam, and while you may not feel as confident as you should feel, be comforted in the fact that you know how to look up codes, you know where to find the coding guidelines, and you know how to look things up in the book. The ICD-10-CM, which is the diagnosis book, the CPT book, or if you're doing inpatient coding, the ICD-10-PCS book, and even the HCPCS book. As long as you know the fundamental basics of how to get through those books and look up codes, you're going to be fine. That I will say, you are going to be fine. A lot of people start panicking. Sometimes they panic before they begin a program. Sometimes they panic after, when they've gotten their certification, and they're like, I feel like I'm in over my head. The thing about feeling in over your head is, especially in this business of health information and medical billing and coding, the way to remedy that is to study. The way to remedy that is to actually go through the exercises, right? Think of runners. When they start training to be a runner, right? They're obviously not going to run super fast when they first start, right? Because they have to train and condition their bodies. They have to be able to get up early enough, start working out, lift weights if they need to. They need to trim down and work on their diet and things like that, so that they can condition their bodies to be the most effective running machine that it could possibly be. And as they're doing these things, as they're conditioning their body, they're getting faster and faster each time. It is the same idea with medical coders. You are the beginning of the conditioning part, right? When you are in school and when you're passing your certification exam, and even though you don't feel confident, and even though you feel like, oh, there's some more things I need to learn, this is when you start doing the diet part, or the other part of the conditioning, which is working on workbooks, the coding workout books. I put the links in the description box below. You don't have to click on the links because they're Amazon affiliate links, and I may get a commission if you do, but you don't have to. You can just look at the titles. Look for it on your own. There's lots of places to buy books online, okay? So you can look at those to see if those will help you. Putting in the effort on your part is huge, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter the training that you got if it is not helping you. If you know it does not help you, if you know it did not help you, and it was just designed to get you to pass the certification exam so that you can get out and find you a job, it is your responsibility to get in there and dig and be like, okay, I'm going to either train myself, or I'm going to find a mentor who can help me. That is the great thing about both the American Health Information Management Association and the American Academy of Professional Coders. I'm on LinkedIn. And you would not believe how many supportive people there are out there in the health information industry. I have seen so many brand new people put out the request, hey, I really need a mentor. I'm really trying to get into the field, and I just need somebody to kind of coach me through and answer some questions that I have. So many people will volunteer. Selfless people who have been in the industry for years. And I think that that's really wonderful. That's a great thing about our industry, is that it's really like a family when you think about it, because while there's thousands of us, it is really considerably a small community, because there's like 5 degrees of separation and people know each other. But it does, there's so many giving people out there who are willing to volunteer their time to help brand new people who are out there with questions. But it really is on the brand new medical coder, and these are some of the things that you can do. This is what you can control. How much conditioning you are doing for yourself as a medical coder. If you know that during school you struggled with medical terminology and anatomy and pathophysiology, then that's where you need to study. That's where you need to invest your time. And a lot of people will say, well, Blue, you always talk about that. Reading medical documentation is like reading another language. And when you do this, it takes finesse. It takes a lot of time and energy to get through learning anatomy, to get through learning medical terminology. Once you get those down, it's going to be a lot easier for you when you start reading, because then you're going to really start to understand what's happening. And you're not going to have to stop every few words to try to look things up and figure out, like, what are they talking about? So that's some of the things that you can do. You can control that. And sometimes when people write me and they're upset because they've gone through a program that was really fast, and they're like, Blue, I really kind of regret going through this really fast program because I feel like it was just so much information all at one time. And I tell you guys a lot, when people ask me, what kind of programs do I recommend? I really do recommend going to the associations themselves, because both AHIMA and AAPC have their own self-paced programs, and the time is different, right? AHIMA gives you a whole year from the time you pay. And so that's something that you need to consider. AAPC is a different time frame. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it is a different time frame. But I always say, if you're going to look at any programs, try to get at least 9 months of school. Sometimes people will try to get through 4 weeks. Sometimes it is not 4 weeks, but 4 months. And sometimes it is just 6 months. And so they say, well, the school said that I can get through in this amount of time. The school is a business. At the end of the day, these schools are businesses. They need to make money in order to keep their doors open. So you really can't blame them because they are for profit. That is what they are for. However, it is on the coder or the future coder to do their research, to do their homework about where and what they want to do with their schooling. You want to be able to have that critical thinking being taught and planting those seeds now when you are working on the conditioning part of being a medical coder, of learning what you have to learn so that you can be prepared when you go into the outside world. Work on those coding workbooks. Go to websites like justcoding.com. This is not an ad for justcoding.com, but this website is wonderful and has a free subscription side, and it gives you access to all of their coding quizzes. So they have 5-question coding quizzes that are for the diagnosis coding, the procedure coding, for inpatient and for outpatient. So this is a hugely valuable website that is free. So you don't have to pay nothing. Zero. Just like hitting that like button. It's $0 to hit that like button. I'm just saying. I had to throw that one in there. So anyway, think about this, guys. When you're out there and you're in school, every school is going to be different and they're going to teach things completely different. This is why I created my channel, to let you guys know that there's other things out there that you need to learn. These are the critical thinking things that you have to really expose your mind to and your brain, and doing the heavy lifting, doing the studying, doing the reading, and working on you as a person, so that when you do go out into the real world and you're having to communicate with these alpha personalities, these providers, you're going to be prepared to do that. Because I'll tell you what, when I started, I was so far from being prepared just to talk to my providers. And I didn't start doing that until years into my career, when I really started to pick up the pace and be like, oh, okay, I need to work on me so that I can be better prepared for my providers. Because at the end of the day, it is a team sport. You guys will hear me say this a lot, and I say this all the time. Medical coding is a team sport. It is between you and the provider. And you guys got to be able to work together. And you have to be able to know as much as you can, and you have to be able to study as much as you can, so that you can be so sharp that that provider will have all the trust in the world for you and your skills and your abilities. So many times I've met providers who say, I don't know who my coder is, or I think that my coder really doesn't understand what is happening within these notes. And do you know how nervous they get when they figure out that the coder doesn't understand what they're even actually saying in these notes? It scares them, and it's rightfully so to scare them, because it's either money that's going to be lost, or money that's too much coming in, and then there's going to be fines. So you have to be very diligent with figuring this stuff out and knowing the language. But you're never going to learn that right in the beginning. It's going to take time. So you have to be patient enough with yourself. If you pass a certification, great. This means that you can begin. This also means that you really need to buckle down if you don't feel confident. And you need to reach out and find a mentor with either one of the associations, or go through the coding workbook. Find a tutor. There's myself. I am a tutor. I leave my rates in the description box below. Or there's LinkedIn. There's a ton of them on LinkedIn. So you have a choice out there. There's plenty of folks out there who are willing to tutor. All right. If you have to invest a little bit more money, I mean, that is just what you have to do. Or you could try to learn it on your own. It is an independent sport as much as it is a group activity, right? You have to be able to put yourself in the position to say, okay, I'm not going to dwell on the fact that I didn't get all this training that I thought I needed, or that I do need, rather. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that I didn't get it. I am just going to pick myself up, and I'm going to keep going, because whatever happens, I have my certification. So that means I can do this. I just need to prepare myself better. And like I said, when I was in school, I went to a trade school. They literally sat me in front of a computer and said, here, learn. So I learned pretty much everything on my own. I was going through and learning with flashcards and everything like that. My mom helped me. God bless my mother, because I would not have my career today if it wasn't for her and all of her time and energy spent studying with me. So I was very lucky in that. There's spending that time and knowing that by investing yourself more, it's going to prepare you and make you better. When ICD-10 kicked in, right, and it was implemented in October 2015, right, a year prior, I had been going through training. I went through not one, but 2 ICD-10 training programs. Simultaneously, I went through both of these. Now, it's because I had the opportunity to go through the second one that I went ahead and took the opportunity. My employer was offering training as well. So that's why I had 2 simultaneous trainings at the same time. What one program was not teaching me, the other program was. So I got incredibly lucky in that. And now I could have blown off the second one and been like, oh, I don't need it because I already have my employer doing this. But I invested that extra time, and didn't you know, it did prepare me. So when we started having this new thing with sequela and the injury coding and things like that, nobody could get it. I got it because I did the extra heavy lifting, which was spending more time and working through those issues that I knew I was going to get stuck on. So doing those things is what prepared me. It's what's going to prepare you for the future when you start, even when you're in school now, and you start learning and digging deep in that medical terminology and anatomy and pathophysiology, and then working through the coding exercises, reading over things that you don't understand. And there is an E&M set that I do recommend in the description box below. That way you guys can check that out as well. But when it comes to E&M did change. January 1, it did change. But you can do your research because some things didn't change. All right. Some sections in the E&M did not change and others did. So you have to make sure that you're going through there, looking through and truly understanding what it all means and what it all entails. But no one is going to be able to learn this stuff but you. And you have to be patient enough to give yourself time to learn it. Because if you get so impatient and then you think, oh gosh, I can't do this, and you get into that negative thought process, that's what you're going to do. You're not going to be able to do it because in your head, you have like, oh, okay, I can't do it. You need to reverse that thinking and say, yes, I can. I don't have experience, but I can do this. Yes, you can. You thought about doing this, and you have to go back to the reason why you decided to do this. Why did you decide to do this? Why do you want to be a medical coder? Well, I want to do this for staying at home. No. Why do you want to be a medical coder? Do you want to be challenged? Do you want something different? Do you want to have something that you can look forward to? Not about, oh, I want to work at home and I want to do this and I want to do contracting and I want to do it. No. Look at why. When I had my why moment, when I first started this, why did I want to do this? Because I was going through a divorce. I was going through a transition in my life where there was a lot of things happening personally that I felt like I needed something that I could control. And how, as far as like, and I know it makes it sound like a control freak, but it was something that I could control, that how much I learned and what joy I got out of it. Because if I wanted to do it, then I could do it. And that was my thought process. That was what I went through, because I said to myself, I have to do something for myself. I had been living with my mom. I had gone from my mom's house to my husband's house and then back to my mom's house when I got a divorce. And when I got a divorce, I'm trying to pick myself up and do all these things. You know, I had been delivering phone books with my mom for many years, and I loved it. I enjoyed doing the phone books, and I miss it today. But phone books went away. It phased out over time because you know, cell phones were coming out. Actually, it was beepers, then cell phones. I'm dating myself. Yes, I know. But I had to go through that. I was going through that transition. So it's just like, what do I do now? You know, I'm getting into my late 20s and I'm like, what can I do? I was just over my mid 20s, right? When all of this was happening. So, you know, I'm trying to think, I'm like, I have to hurry up. I have to do something. I need to do something with my life. And then the answer was with medical coding. And I didn't even know what it was. If you're brand new and you haven't heard my story, I was unemployed. So I went to the unemployment office or the workforce office. And my case manager was like, well, what about medical coding? Because when they said, we'll send you back to school, we'll pay for you to go to school, and we have all of these programs. I wanted to do accounting because I love numbers and I'm a numbers whiz. You know, I can do numbers in my sleep. But he was like, well, what about medical coding? And I'm like, I don't do nothing with needles. I don't do blood. He's like, it's not blood, it's just reading. And I'm like, what? Did you say reading? And then he's like, yes, it's reading and reading comprehension and, you know, just check it out. And that was my why. I wanted to do something with my life. And when I saw the security that this career field could offer me, I was like, that's it. That's it for me, because it fit everything that I needed. All my intellectual wants on this checklist. And I didn't have to wait. Because if I had all my intellectual checklists, I would have been an attorney, right? I would have had the time to go to school and to do all that, but I did not have time at that moment to wait the years that it was going to take for me to be an attorney versus to just go ahead and start being a medical coder and having a really good and stable career field that I could be in. That was my why. Get to your why, and that is what's going to help give you that energy to get through this time of conditioning. Because when you think about it, athletes have to go through injuries when they're on their way to greatness, to being the fastest runner, to being the best basketball player, to being the best football player, to being the best tennis player or golf player. They suffer injuries. It's the same thing with medical coders. We suffer injuries as far as like our ego gets bruised. We don't know. But what do? We pick ourselves back up just like those athletes do. And we keep going. Dust yourself off and keep going. You learned from this. You learned. And that's what you're going to continue to do. Because yes, you can. At the end of the day, yes, you can. You have that certification in your hand. You did that part. And that's amazing in itself. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. It doesn't matter how you got it, right? Whether you went through a program that taught you how to pass a certification, or whether you went through a program that actually taught you the heavy lifting, critical thinking, okay? Because we're all adults here, we can be honest about that. And there are some programs that teach you just to get through the certification and then you're on your own. You can do this, guys. If you made it through, you can make it through. And you can just keep going. That's my advice anyway. I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you for joining me. Hit that subscribe button, please. Like this, share this if it helped you. And I will see y'all on the next video. Bye.